Good evening, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your second and final video blog for July 4th, 2015, Saturday night around 8:19 in the evening. Hope you enjoyed your 4th of July in the United States. Hope you saw parades, or cookouts, or went to the beach, or saw baseball games or whatever. Today I saw a parade in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, because Billerica, my hometown, did not have anything for the 4th of July. But next Saturday they're going to have hot dogs in Billerica Center for $1. It's going to be affordable on the 4th, but it's going to be on the 11th, run by the Lions Club. And some news to report: the Boston Red Sox beat the Houston Astros by a score of 6-1. Clay Buchholz pitched a great game, complete game. Also, England beat China in the Women's World Cup third place game by the score of 1-0. And LaMarcus Aldridge has signed a max deal with the San Antonio Spurs. So congratulations to him. That's about it on the news. My second and final video blog subject of the night is my personality profile. Tonight's personality profile is a celebrity who's been associated with the Match Game, and I'm talking about the late great actor, singer, game show host Bert Convy. Bert was like an actor and a singer and game show host for many years, and he passed away years ago tragically. Bert was born in St. Louis, Missouri, and he grew up in Los Angeles, California. He had an interest in music while he was a youngster and also acting, but his real skill was playing sports. He played baseball in high school, and his real name is Bernard Whalen Convy. And Bert was such a great baseball player in high school that he was scouted by the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Phillies signed Bert to a contract at the age of 17. Bert played only 2 seasons of minor league baseball for the Philadelphia Phillies, but he wasn't a great hitter. He only hit about .234, and that's not going to get you a ticket to the big leagues. So Bert decided to end his baseball career and pursue acting and singing. He went to the UCLA School of Film, Theater, and Television, and once he graduated, he joined a band called Cheers in the mid-1950s, and their group had a top 10 hit single called Black Denim and Rosen Motorcycle Boots. It was a great hit, and then Bert had a brief singing career, which he had a couple of singles, which was decent and stuff, so pretty good. And then Bert went into acting, and he appeared in many movies and a lot of television shows, including Surfside 6, Perry Mason, Hawaii 5-0, The Partridge Family, and a few others and stuff. And also around the late 1960s, Bert started to get involved in game shows, first as a game show panelist. It was a frequent panelist of the daytime version of To Tell the Truth on CBS in the late 1960s. One week in 1968, Bert pinched hit for regular host Bud Collyer when Bud was on vacation in 1968. When To Tell the Truth got canceled in September of 1968, Bert appeared as a regular panelist for What's My Line, which was also produced in New York and stuff. And then he appeared on another game show which was produced by Goodson Todman as a celebrity guest. He Said, She Said, which with his wife Anne. And also in the early 1970s, Bert starred in a short-lived television series called Snoop Sisters. In 1973, Bert became a kind of a panelist on the Match Game, showing up once in a while and stuff like that. In the fall of 1973, Bert appeared on the NBC anthology Police Story in an episode called the pilot episode of Policewoman, and Bert played Bill Crowley, who was like the detective for Angie Dickinson's character, which on that pilot episode was Lisa Beaumont, but eventually it was named Susanna Pepper Anderson, and Policewoman got picked up as a series in 1974. Bert could have played Crowley in the regular television series of Policewoman as well, but Bert was tapped as host of a game show produced by Mark Goodson and Bill Tallman called Tattletales, which was a celebrity game show where three celebrity couples would appear, and they would tell about gossip and stuff like that, kind of like a Newlywed Game clone, but with celebrities and stuff, and each celebrity would win money for their rooting section and stuff. And Tattletales was on CBS, and Bert was tapped as host of it, and it premiered in February of 1974. At first, Bert was a little reluctant to host a game show because he had like an acting career and singing career, and he was a little afraid that if he hosts a game show and if it's not successful, he could be typecast by a Hollywood community saying he's on a game show host. Why do we need him in a role for an acting thing, television or movies? But Tattletales became a big hit on CBS and then on daytime television, and for 4 years was one of the top game shows on television, and it brought Bert Star to the next level and stuff like that, and he made a lot more television and movie appearances because of Tattletales, which was pretty good. Tattletales ended in 1978, but Bert continued to appear on game shows, making frequent appearances on That Game and Password Plus and stuff. In 1979, Bert had a guest appearance on an episode of Charlie's Angels, where he played a con man who had a love interest in Chris Monroe, who was played by Cheryl Ladd. Cheryl Ladd actually appeared on Tattletales in 1974 with her then husband and stuff, that's an interesting fact. Also, Bert also made guest appearances on The Love Boat and Fantasy Island. In 1980, Bert shot a talk show pilot for like a kind of a daytime talk show, which was going to be syndicated. It was produced by Jack Barry and Dan Enright, who produced The Joker's Wild and Tic-Tac-Toe and Bullseye and so many other game shows, but not enough stations picked up that talk show, and in fact there was kind of a lack of interest by the television stations because Bill Convy hosting game shows and appearing on game shows, they thought he would not make a good talk show host, but he would have probably made a great talk show host and stuff, but we would never find out. In 1982, Bert returns to host Tattletales, a revived version on CBS, for about 2 years, and in September of 1984, Bert becomes the new host of a new version of Password called Super Password, which was a variation of Password and Password Plus. They had a couple of things like Cashword, and the graphics were a little futuristic and stuff. And Bert hosted Super Password for 4.5 years on NBC, despite being in the noontime death slot, which many NBC affiliates did not show Super Password because they don't want to preempt local news, or some markets did on alternate time slots. Some NBC affiliates put it on alternate time slots, or some it would go on an independent station. I know in Boston, WBZ never showed Super Password because of showing the noontime news, but it was shown a couple of times on WQTV 68 and then WHLO TV 27. Bert was a pretty great host of Super Password, but he was very funny because once in a while Bert would inadvertently give the word of a clue and stuff like that, or sometimes the word would be the clue to the password, and a lot of celebrities says Bert blew it and stuff, and says this is embarrassing and stuff, but it was pretty funny in my opinion, which is somewhat comic relief. Also in the mid-1980s, Bert developed a great friendship with actor Burt Reynolds, who was one of the biggest movie stars in Hollywood in the 70s and 80s, and once in a while they would play games. They had a parlor game they played, which they drew stuff and stuff. Eventually, they called the name game show the game Win, Lose, or Draw. In fact, both Bert and Bert said this would be a great television series, a great game show and stuff. And they formed the production company, Bert and Bert, and they pitched Win, Lose, or Draw to NBC, and they saw it, and NBC decided it's a goal. And in the fall of 1987, Win, Lose, or Draw had two versions, one an NBC version and one a syndicated version. The NBC version was hosted by Vicki Lawrence because at the time Bert hosted Super Password for NBC, and there was a rule that a person cannot host two shows on one network, period. That was a rule, but Bert went to host the syndicated version of Win, Lose, or Draw, and both versions of Win, Lose, or Draw were hits, and also Burt Reynolds appeared from time to time on Win, Lose, or Draw. He was such a big movie star, and usually big movie stars don't appear on game shows, but Burt Reynolds owned a piece of the show, so he could appear on it, and also his wife at the time, Lonnie Anderson, appeared on Win, Lose, or Draw, so that boost Win, Lose, or Draw to be a top game show on television during the late 1980s. In 1989, Burt and Burt Productions produced another game show. It was called Third Degree, which it was a panel game show where four celebrities would grill two people who had a connection and stuff like that. It was kind of a variation of an old 50s game show called Make a Connection, which was produced by Goodson Todman, which was hosted by Gene Rabin and Jim McKay. And Third Degree was a decent game show, but it only lasted one season in syndication and stuff like that. Originally, when they shot the pilot of Third Degree, it was going to be hosted by Peter Marshall, famous for being the master of the Hollywood Squares. But when it was time to be on syndication, Bert Convy decided he was going to host it himself instead because he owned the show and stuff, and he probably wanted to probably host his own production. Peter Marshall was mad. He sued Bert Convy for breach of contract, but that case was never heard because of a sad situation. After Third Degree went off the air, Bert was tapped to host Match Game, the new version on ABC. Bert shot 5 pilot episodes of Match Game, and I saw a lot of them on YouTube, and it looked like Bert was going to be a great host for Match Game. He was real funny and stuff like that because he appeared on the Match Game panel a lot in the 1970s, and like Match Game was going to debut on ABC in the summer of 1990, but around April of 1990, Bert was in the hospital visiting his ailing mother who was dying, and Bert collapsed. And when the revealed tests showed that Bert had a brain tumor, and that brain tumor was inoperable, and he was dying. And in July of 1991, Bert Convy passed away at 57 years old. It was just a tragedy. He passed away so young because he was an energetic host and stuff like that, very funny and stuff. And if he did not fall ill, the Match Game that appeared in summer of 1990, with Bert hosting it, it probably would have lasted at least a few years on ABC daytime because of his wit and stuff like that. Ross Schaefer became host of that Match Game version, and it only lasted about a year and stuff like that. And it was so tragic that Bert Convy left this world too soon because he had the great talent and stuff like that. He had kind of a decent acting and singing career, but game shows was his claim to fame and stuff like that. And he hosted 4 of them, and he would have probably hosted 5 if he didn't fall ill. And Bert Convy is a very an underrated game show host and a very funny host. You could see his work on Tattletales and Super Password on Buzzer, the new digital over-the-air television network that is growing by the day, adding more markets. They just added one in Wichita, Kansas, in Kansas City, Kansas. I think it's going to probably, I predict Buzzer will be in Boston by the end of the year. And that's about it on that subject. Tomorrow, you're going to get 3 video blogs. That my normal thing. First video blog will be my review of the NWA pay-per-view Great American Bash 1989. The glory days from Baltimore, Maryland, which the main event was NWA World Champion Nature Boy Ric Flair, defending against the hardcore legend Terry Funk. You exacting dog, you Dusty Rhodes. And the second video blog will be recurring theme on these video blogs. It's going to be about the BMHS memories. I'm going to say the memories for this subject I'm going to talk about tomorrow will be about the morning announcements, my memories of the morning announcements they had at Bellwether Memorial High School. And the third and final video blog of the night, personality profile. Tomorrow's personality profile will be about Ross Schaefer, who was a match game host, and he was an actor, a comedian. Now he's a motivational speaker. And Tuesday will be the day you're going to get a special 4th video blog. And have a good night, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Like I always say, keep calm, and I'm a Julie Brennan guy. And now I am a Molly Rosenblatt guy of Fox 35, Orlando, Florida. All the great women meteorologists who are good looking are from Orlando, Florida. Have a good night, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.